Hello, everyone. On to part five of our journey through compensation and total rewards. Part five is all about employee benefits. So the last couple of chapters for the semester are going to be revolve around the idea of employee benefits and the other part of compensation, which is total rewards. So we start with chapter 12, which is called the benefit determination process. Essentially, because this is the other part of total rewards, compensation being one half, benefits and other related things being the other, how do we decide what benefits we're going to offer our employees? From a wide range of different options. Exhibit 12.4 in your textbook. Did kind of a survey and they ranked the benefits, where people thought were most relevant to what they were looking for. Number one, of course, being medical, which I don't think any of us can question, why medical insurance is the most important benefit that for the vast majority of people they look for. But number two being pension or, some type of retirement. Obviously, not just short-term thinking, but long-term thinking for retirement benefits. Paid vacation and holidays, sickness benefits, dental, vision, and a long-term disability, life insurance, all very, very relevant benefits. And again, in a perfect scenario, not only we would have all of them, but they would all be free. So, but again, we'll kind of talk about what that looks like as we move on. And truth be told, as wonderful it is that companies offer, paid vacations and they offer long-term disability, life insurance, dental and vision, things like that. There's only three really required benefits that every employer is required to have. First off is a state requirement for workers' compensation. So in all 50 states, if you get injured on the job, you are entitled to workers' compensation to pay for, at least pay a portion of any injury that you sustain in the workplace. So the second is a federal benefit. It's called unemployment insurance. So if you lose your job, especially if it's not your fault, and in certain cases, even if it is your fault, you are entitled to unemployment, for a certain period of time. And again, each state does set their own rates and determination for unemployment, but it is relevant for every worker in the U.S. And then the third one, also a federal benefit, is Social Security. So, every employer is required to pay into Social Security. It's something that you get whenever you retire. So, very, very important thing to remember, the three required benefits: workers' compensation, unemployment insurance, and Social Security. So you take those three required benefits, and then all these other benefits that we just talked about, medical and dental, and all that. And again, going back to those, none of those are required. A company doesn't have to offer, life insurance. It doesn't have to offer medical. It doesn't even have to offer technically any vacation or holidays. They don't, and in certain cases, they don't even have to offer you like lunch, for example. Now, a lot of states and a lot of local jurisdictions require that if you work a certain number of hours, you're required to a certain amount of breaks and things like that. But legally, unless your state says so, your employer is not required to give you those. Now, a company that didn't give you, time off to go to the bathroom or didn't give you, a lunch break is probably not going to be in business too long. So, but if you want to get real technical, they're not required to do so. So what are some questions that we need to look at in setting up the benefits? Well, what questions do we need to ask to decide what benefits we're going to offer? Well, first, the question we have to ask is, well, who should be protected? Are we only talking about the employee? Or are we talking about their children, their spouse, their partner, whoever it is, who should be protected? And a lot of companies and organizations even offer pet insurance, for example, so they can even cover, animals that live in the house. Second question is, how much employee choice? Do we give employees flexibility in determining their benefits, or do we just have a set package for everybody, regardless of your status? And we'll talk about that here in a second. The third question is, how are benefits financed? Does the organization cover every single penny of everything, or do they have ways to share the cost of health insurance, share the cost of life insurance, things along those lines? And then finally, are the benefits legally defensible? So do we need to make sure that every benefit, follows the state and federal rules in which it's located? So Exhibit 12.6, to kind of take this a step further, talks about the pros and the cons of a flexible benefit program. It's also called a cafeteria plan because, like when you go to a cafeteria, you can kind of pick and choose what benefits you want. And a flexible benefit program does allow, employees to kind of pick and choose which benefits they think are most important. So make sure you read through Exhibit 12.6 that really talks about what are the pros and the cons of a flexible benefit program. Obviously, the pros are very relevant. Employees get the ones that are relevant to them. I remember when a job that I had a while ago. I remember sitting in new hire orientation, and they were and the university that I was working for at the time was talking about all these great benefits. You know, when you have kids, if they end up going to college where I worked, they would get this. You get this amazing 75% off benefit tuition, and I'm thinking, wow, this is a really great benefit for my kids someday. The gentleman that I remember sitting next to me was like, I don't have kids and I'm not married. I will never use this benefit. I know the university is going out of its way to talk about this benefit, but I personally can never use it because I will never have kids. And that really kind of got me thinking, wow, just because it's a great benefit doesn't mean that every employee can actually use it. So the idea of a flexible benefit plan, again, if you're 18, your benefit options are going to be, your needs in life are very different than if you're 75 or 80 years old. If you have kids versus you don't have kids, if you're married versus not married, if you have a lot of health problems versus if you're perfectly healthy, all these questions go into this flexible benefit program. And by extension, companies have to be able to contain the cost of these benefits, because they don't just have an unlimited budget to give us whatever we want. There is a way to pass on or share the cost of benefits with the employees. And you see this most often, obviously, in health insurance with things like a probationary period where you have to wait 60, 90, 120 days or however long that you're with a company before you can start your benefits. We've all probably experienced co-pays and deductibles. Money that, co-pays money that you have to pay when you visit a doctor. Deductibles mean the money that you have to meet a certain number, usually like $500 or $1,000 before the insurance will kick in. So, in some companies, even, have it's data that says if you have certain pre-existing conditions, we won't cover you. Now, a lot of states and a lot of jurisdictions have, prevented, companies from doing that, but there are still companies out there that say if you have cancer, we won't let you on our health insurance plan. Again, I won't sit here and debate pre-existing conditions. That's that's very state and very locality specific. But the whole idea is that companies find ways to control the cost, because again, especially with health insurance, it's becoming incredibly cost heavy for companies to continue to offer benefits to employees. So, okay. Well, like I said, these are just kind of the basics of the benefit determination process and what we're looking at, how we determine what are the benefits we want to offer employees. So as we move into the final chapters, we'll expand upon this more and more and look at different options and different ways that we exercise our benefits. So until next time, thanks again, everyone.